Let's take a look at, next up, Gallantmon. We've got a lot of stuff to go through, so can't linger too long, unfortunately. Gallantmon only got 5 cards in this entire set out of 74, but those 5 cards I feel like were big cards, like really big cards. The first one being they're all also they're all X-Antibody cards with the exception of MedievalGallantmon, which we'll talk about at the very end. But the Gallantmon X's line is insane here, where the new Gallantmon X-Antibody is essentially just another searcher. You already had the EX2 Gallantmon, which I think has been used forever at this point, and he's so good as a way to get like a ton of cards and a tamer, and he's also a way to just shoot out little floodgates, which yeah, with Gazimon and Psychemon running around, I'm so happy about. But the new Gallantmon X is like, hey, search more cards and also grab a Growl Duke and then also an X-Antibody. So now you have a way to actually dig X-Antibodies out of your deck if you want to run those in the deck as well. And if not, then you just get access to more cards in your line. And the inheritance here is just when your opponent's Digimon's deleted, gain a memory. This is the inheritance that was on like the starter deck Growlmon, I think it was, like the starter deck 7, 12, one of those two. The rare Growlmon card. Them giving it to level 3 here, who's, yeah, wow, who already has a search effect is insane to me. It feels like what they're trying to do is force you away from using some of the mill cards that you might have used before. And this is one way to do it, where they just give you access to more draw instead of having to mill them and then pull them back from the trash. You can just search them off the top of the deck now. Gallantmon X, fantastic card for a rare. Oh yeah, great point. Yeah, it'd be nice if this is an all turns inherent, but I'm okay with just your turn. Like, that seems fair enough. Well, the card next up we're gonna take a look at is Growlmon X. Similar to the Gallantmon X, he also has the +1 whenever you destroy an opponent's Digimon or delete an opponent's Digimon. And also, like I mentioned before, I think they're trying to get you to move away from like the mill cards, I think from EX3 or EX4, where now when you evolve from this guy, you get an extra draw. So not only do you evolve from Growlmon for 0, but you also get an extra draw. You get the evolution, you get this extra draw here, and then you trash 1 card. Then if you have Growlmon or X-Antibody in this card's sources, until the end of your opponent's turn, this Digimon gains on deletion. You can play a Gallantmon in his name, a card with Gallantmon in his name from your trash without paying the cost. This means that you have access to Gallantmon cards, but also Gallantmon X cards. And yeah, again, another reason I think you might want to shy away from using some of the older stuff, maybe with the exception of the Rush Gallantmon card. Seems like this is actually pretty damn good for that. Yeah, also, yeah, he is my man got the veins. This Growlmon pulls. The difference is the X. Next up is honestly one of my favorite cards out of the new Growlmon set. Not only for the artwork, but also just for the simplicity in its effects. The WarGrowlmon X Antibody is a much needed card to this line, where currently the Growlmon line, and this is just my soapbox here, it's really hard to use anything outside of the EX4 WarGrowlmon because all the other effects just seem kind of wonky, and they seem like they're too dependent on what your opponent is doing, where the EX3 Growlmon. This guy lets you just mill 3 and then play a Gallantmon or a Tamer from trash or hand, which means like you have full control over your destiny. At least it feels that way. Whereas the other folks out there, like the WarGrowlmon from BT12, it's like delete a 4K or lower, which really isn't much for level 5. Considering we just looked at Master Tyrannomon, who kills an 8K, like basically 2 times. The 4K seems kind of lackluster, and if you don't hit anything, you can evolve into level 6 for cost -1. And that's okay, but if you're already evolving to pass turn into this guy, and then you also do the cost -1 evolve, you're giving away so much memory. The one saving grace use this card as the end of attack, where if your opponent has no Digimon in play at the end of your attack, and you have Growlmon or Gallantmon in your name, you gain 2 memory, which is cool. It's like a small refund, but I just feel like it wasn't super impactful to actually use the evolving effect of this card, and you typically just included like 1 copy or 2 copies in the deck just for the inheritance effect whenever you like warped a Gallantmon into a Gallantmon in the past. But this guy, the new guy, oh boy. Security attack +1 with no strings attached. All the training that the Growlmon X did that we saw just a moment ago, all those muscles, paid off in this inheritance effect when he got to level 5. Sec +1 is fantastic for the deck, which means they can now check 2 relatively easy without using the BT12 Gallantmon. And then the evolving effect, until the end of your opponent's turn, Digimon can't be returned to the hand or the deck, so it means he can't be bounced, which is fantastic when you're going up against blue, and he gets 3000 DP. So you get a turn lingering DP bonus, where the deck struggled to get that in the past, I think outside of level 6s. And if you've got WarGrowlmon or X-Antibody in the traits, you can delete a 10k or lower DP Digimon. That's crazy, so much good value here. Which means now your level 5s probably look like the EX3 WarGrowlmon we just talked about before, and then maybe like 3 copies of this guy, or like 2 copies of this guy. Such like this, I really feel like pads out the level 5s to make them way more useful. Way more useful. Yeah, Digirad, I agree. Great card. It's like and it's only a common. Like I think you can really miss the usefulness and the utility of this guy if you're just kind of like looking at sparkle, sparkle, shine, shine cards. But this guy's a common is fantastic for the deck. And then the last, second to last. Remember this set had 2 secret rares and they were both Gallantmon. So the first one we're gonna take a look at is going to be the Gallantmon X, and he has everything I've ever wanted in a Digimon card. So 4 from a red, yellow, or blue. Bandai challenge not to give a secret rare access to yellow and purple challenge impossible. Red, blue, or yellow, 4 cost, level 5. 1 cost from a Digimon. On evolve and on attack. Not once per turn, by the way. If you have Gallantmon or X-Antibody in the name, or in the cards, the Digivolution cards, he gets plus 4k, and one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 4k until the end of their turn. So if you combo this off of the BT17, 19, the most recent, well, not the most recent, the BT17 Gallantmon, that guy could get plus 3k. If you have X-Antibody, when he swings, you can get plus 3k, then you can evolve and get plus 4k, so that's like plus 10k on a 12k Digimon, which means you now have a much easier time getting over big walls. In the past, when they dropped a Magnamon, it was really tough to get rid of him, but now you have a really easy answer, even if they're buffed up to like 18k. Really easy. And you can also just pop for minus 8k if you go into this guy and then end of turn swing, which is nice. You basically just make stuff weaker if you need to, and then punch into it. And then also when Digivolving and end of attack. The end of attack is such a good point here, just because if you do use X-Antibody to evolve while you're attacking, you get this effect. Delete opponent's Digimon with 10k or less. This is not including all of the other inheritance buffs that you might find in the Growlmon line, so this could easily be 12 to 14k. If it didn't delete anything, you trash an opponent's security and he unsuspends. So before, you had these effects on different cards, like you had like the BT12 Gallantmon who did the discard a security card. You also had like the, what was it, old Gallantmon X-Antibody who could unsuspend. You also had more recent Gallantmon who could destroy like an 8k or lower, and then he also got DP buffs. They finally took all of the effects that you needed and put them into the nexus of like 1 card. And then like if that wasn't enough, the all turns, if you have 0 or less memory, he's unaffected by opponent's Digimon effects, is basically what he needed. They gave this effect to you before in the BT17 Gallantmon, but it was only on your turn. So you could get this up until the end of your turn happened, but as soon as it was your opponent's turn, you basically assume that Gallantmon was dead. And now that they have this on all turns, there is a way where your opponent can actually just not very difficultly, or not with much difficult, kill this guy. However, they have to evolve and pass turn or attack when the memory counter is over, which means they're either using the old X-Antibody card, which a lot of decks don't run right now, although that could change, or they have like Vortex, or they run Blitz, which I think is a pretty rare effect in the game at this point. So, or they completely just give up attacking for that turn. So they either have to give up attacking, or they have to have like this specialized way of attacking and using the effect while the memory counter is tipped over. If your opponent just slams something that's big and it does like destroy Digimon, Dukemon would die because the memory tips over, and then yeah, he loses the protection even though it's your opponent's turn. But barring that, he's a really good like wall. Yeah, I mean like the fact that you kind of have to be really careful that you don't get baited by this, because seeing all turns means you think, oh well, I'll never be destroyed. But if they just play something big and they tip it back over, then you lose your stack. But yeah, Gallantmon X, besides that, is like the perfect nexus of all of the Gallantmon effects that you needed to have in 1 card. And I'm so thankful they finally gave them 1 card like that, where other decks have been running around with that for a long time. They just gave them what they needed from the get-go, and then they don't struggle to put together or mount a defense. But yeah, like I said, there were 2 secret rares in this set, and the other one was MedievalGallantmon. They gave both of them to Gallantmon here, and this guy I love. So similar to the BT13 Gallantmon, you can reduce his play cost. Like when this card will be played by suspending 2 Digimon, any 2 Digimon by the way, reduce the play cost by 4, so he immediately becomes a 7. Has Alliance, has Vortex. All turns when a Digimon is played, he sees himself, right? I believe he does. You may activate one of this Digimon's Digivolving effects, and then his Digivolving effect is you can suspend 1 Digimon, then you may delete one of your opponent's 8k or lower DP Digimon, and then for each other suspended Digimon, you can add 3,000 to that threshold. What's really nice about this, if you have this guy just sitting on the field, Talmon just kills themselves if they just pop a Talmon out from a Kazuhamon, because Talmon Ace is 8k, I believe it is, and he just does this counter plants? Keep in mind that I believe opponents' turn priority would let them do their effects first, but once their effect is over, you just as long as he lives, you're good. So while I think this guy is really good, maybe like a one of in like a normal Gallantmon deck, I'm really interested to see what you can do in a Zavagamon deck though. Considering he does have the Warrior, which I'll need, but more importantly, Vortex Warrior traits, means he does get access to some really cool tamers in the Kazuto or Shoto. Wow, Kazama. I just put his name together. It made a new name. Wow, look at me. Where this guy says you can suspend him at the end of turn, and then a Digimon gets Piercing and Blocker, and then if it has Vortex Warriors in a trait, it unsuspends. So you imagine him with Vortex, you can either swing again, end of turn. Also has Alliance, by the way. Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. Oh, wow. Yeah, popping a Scramble would be insane. He actually nullifies Scramble cards. I didn't even think about that. I was so focused on Tau Loop. The thing about Tau Loop is though, is they typically don't have, they have to spin like Noble Family Arts, but I think most of their cards are focused on just like evolving and playing more Digimon. So they have to be really careful, I guess, now when they run into Gallantmon. But wow, this also pops Scramble. That's so funny. Oh, that's so good. Dang, Vortex and Alliance plus works. He's only 3 cons Digivolve too. I just realized that. He's a 3 cons Digivolve off of any red or green. This guy is so splashable. So splashable. You love to see it. And he's just playable. Whew, dang. Dukemon stay eating. Shoot. Dukemon stay, at least in this set. The past set's scraps, but this one, we got the big piece of chicken. And so that's Gallantmon. I think, honestly, as someone who's been using Gallantmon for like the past month, these are like some of the best cards you could have given to the deck. It really does shore up a lot of the issues that I think the deck had in the past, most notably with the Gallantmon X and the WarGrowlmon X. I still think that the Digimon is a fantastic choice, and I'm still not 100% sold on the Growlmon here. I think it'll really depend on what your level 5 splits look like and what you want to fit in for the level 4s, but the idea of him like being able to play a Gamon out for free when he's deleted is kind of cool. Maybe like 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 copies. Gallantmon eating Wagyu steak. This set, absolutely. If only we could have had that like in the other 7 sets before where he got cards. We worked at like worked eating cup noodle for like 7 sets, and then they finally said, you know what? Throw him a piece of meat. Yeah. But yeah, as someone who's, I think this is the deck I'm going to be using this weekend or next weekend when this set drops for the like Tokyo community area tournament for like the release weekend. I'm playing with some of the guys from Korea. I think I mentioned it before, but I think I'm going to be locked in on this deck. Only good things coming from that, I hope.